Wow.
Wow, this is some really deep stuff.
I don't know what just happened, but something happened inside of me. Something snapped. Something.
I wasn't expecting that
either. Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. It's beautiful.
Monster is like really small, but it had to become that to stop me.
And then the hurt child became present when you mentioned it.
And I didn't realize this until now.
There were things that I didn't remember until now.
Funny. I haven't seen that before.
It feels like I'm the monster. I'm kind of seeing images of things. Of a world where they can exist. This clarity brings all kinds of answers.
It's clear. She hugged me and then went back to her place, I guess, in my heart. Oh, it wants to come out. It wants to bippity boppity boop Cinderella me. She's melted into my chest. It's ooey gooey.
All week been finishing things, cleaning up more, started eating vegetables again last week. And it kind of just started happening. It's almost like I just finished going through a meditation session.
I feel light. When you hit that first joint, in the morning, and
I actually feel a lot more awake.
It's been very helpful for me to kind of be the one in charge of my own IFS process. And I have these calls with you that are amazing. And it's very helpful to have the experience of working with you for sure. But I do feel like that I'm still sort of participating as the self of my IFS process, and that I'm doing stuff between our calls, and we have the community on Discord that supports and all that. And I had said on our Monday meetup, I had said, wouldn't it be cool if there was a guide to doing an IFS process for oneself, that sort of referenced different episodes of the podcast as okay, if this happens, here's a skillful way that you can see how James handled that, or here's some person who had a very complex system of parts here, and here's a series of episodes you can listen to witness how those all got disentangled, or whatever it is. A guide to sort of doing it with the podcast as a support system.
Okay. Yeah. So when I heard that idea through the grapevine, I interpreted that. And when I said I was working on something like that, what I had envisioned and have already started creating is, because there are so many calls, and because I am often asked, where can I hear something like this, something like that? I thought, what if we just made some kind of tagging system that was collaborative, so a Google Sheet with all the episodes, and I could tag episodes as they're released, but also other people could tag them, and they could kind of create their own tags. Maybe I would moderate that, or someone else would, and that way you'd be able to filter and say, here are conversations where we're talking about death. Here are conversations where we are meeting exile. Here are conversations where whatever. I've come up with 20 or 30 different tags that I could think of
Ooh,
whether that's about the process or the topic um, or what kind of state I'm in, or if it's particularly, if it's kind of a textbook call, or if it's a very unorthodox call, or if I'm completely stumped by this call. And then that could be a living document, because when I'm publishing them, I don't always have all the hindsight or the just perspective about what it is that's, that someone might find helpful about that. But if it's in a collaborative Google Doc, then anyone can just add to it. And we could
awesome.
Polish the archive a little bit so that it's more accessible to people.
And do you mean that these tags would be like a technical thing? Like they would have some like searchable aspect or sorting aspect, or like that you'd use an exact set of tags? Like,
I'm just thinking about a Google Doc, a Google Sheet, a spreadsheet, because that's something that everyone could collaborate on. And, I could show, like, here's the 30 different kinds of tags I've thought of, but anybody else could think of their own and say, well,
Sweet.
What if we tagged them like this or like that? And I would say, great, go ahead and do it. Do whatever you want. And I could kind of moderate that. There's different kind of permission levels. So it could be like, well, you can add a comment, or maybe I'll just completely open source it and just let people write whatever they want, until that goes wrong. But, it's a thought. It wouldn't be hard to implement. I just kind of wanted to have a bunch of calls tagged to start, so that I could, maybe if I had 50 of them already done, then people would have a better understanding of at least what I'm envisioning. And I also want to make sure that callers don't feel like I'm picking on them. If I'm, if I only have a sample of 10 of them, then people are going to say, oh, there's 10 of them, and I'm the one that challenged you the most. Something like that. It's kind of like, here, I'll tag 50 of them, and then nobody's getting picked on.
Super. Mm-hmm. Well, that sounds great. And aren't there already like tags in, like, there you have a lot of writing in the episode, like in Spotify, there's like isn't there a lot of writing already?
I'm writing my descriptions, but I'm not using any kind of tagging system.
Okay.
Other than P for protector and E for exile.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't really look at those because of I'm usually out, like not sitting at my computer when I listen to the episode. Mm-hmm. So it does sound convenient to have like a spreadsheet format where you could like find something easily. Yeah.
Yeah.
Super. It was weird. I never listened to our second episode recording. I had two recordings. I had the first episode that I had listened to a couple times. And then the second episode, I didn't ever listen to it until yesterday. I don't know why.
I also listened yesterday to that call.
The second one?
Yes.
Oh, that is so amazing.
Yeah, I just had the feeling. I was like, I want to listen to that second call that we had.
Yeah, that was it was relatively flowing for my system. And I what's interesting about it is it was a great, like, I learned a lot from our conversation. And then afterwards, there was like one little piece of it that really kind of blew me up, which was that I had an older manager who thought the younger manager was like, and I think on the episode I said on crack. Mm-hmm. And like somehow after that, the like brutality of it really, me saying that about my own part really kind of triggered a lot of.
Okay. Well, can
opening
I
me
just
up.
pause you for a moment?
Yeah.
It was a part saying it about your own part, right?
Yeah. It was the grown-up manager saying that about the younger manager who's my world maker manager.
Right.
Yeah. And I was so blended with that grown-up manager that I somewhat spoke on behalf of it because we were working with that part, but at the same, I was also blended with it. And I don't know, that just sort of broke me up, like that kind of polarization internally.
And I'm not recalling, I think I only listened to like half of the call when I did listen back. How did I handle it? Like, did I call attention to it, or it might not matter? I'm just curious.
Yeah,
if we just let it stand, or
it was toward the end of the call. And I afterwards, it was a little while ago, but I remember thinking like that your response was, it was very dispassionate, but I remember thinking afterwards, like, wow, I can tell that James could detect like the blending that I was in, the fact that I said that so matter-of-factly.
Right. Yeah. Did I kind of like go along with it, but also I think I'm kind of remembering. Because I'm trying, like I don't want to be like, hey, don't say that, like it's not
right.
It's like I want to welcome all the parts, and so yes, I know that when you're saying a part is on crack, that's not coming from self, and I also want to empathize with that experience of the part saying that.
Yeah.
But you're saying it blew you up, or
I just just felt a lot of tenderness about like just how kind of routine it is for me to, or for my parts to.
Isn't it so great to have recordings?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Good.
It really is. And yeah. And then I was kind of, I think at the end of the call, we made the connection that the older part who thought the younger part was on crack, that older part was actually trying to protect the younger part. And I didn't really understand that at the time. And then I did a little bit of, contact today or yesterday after I was listening to it. And I can totally see like why it was so harsh at the other. I appreciate what it was doing. And I also feel that, how I can take care of that polarization. So it's not so, so they're not so harsh and detached from self.
Great. Good job.
The Yeah. So the younger manager, was like, had like these attempts to create this escape velocity from situations that it couldn't handle.
Mm-hmm.
And the older manager saw that kind of management of the exile led to dangerous situations and kind of lonely situations.
Mm-hmm.
So then the older manager really, really tried to crack down and have me perform in a very socially wise way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that manager actually has come into play, the fact that this is recorded for a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
That manager kind of really, really grips like making sure that I'm performing in the way that I should be for a podcast.
Okay.
And so I think that there has been some blending that maybe made my access to like freely relating with parts from self strained.
Okay. What does that manager need from us in order to give us space?
So it needs it needs myself to basically just acknowledge like the value that it has provided in my system for a very long time.
Okay.
But at the same time that I can create safety and like keep my exiles from their loneliness, and I can embody the toddler tantrum that it's trying to shield everybody from. And, you know, I really love that toddler who tantrumed and don't want to see it like exiled and shut off. So it's kind of like, I guess, just holding space for that system of the exile and the young manager and the old manager.
And by doing that, it will feel less like it has to perform?
Checking. Yeah, it has shown me that like these managers like were very disembodied because the toddler was like a huge amount of like physical energy that was trying to be stopped. So it has shown me that it needs me to like kind of stay with my body, stay with like my breathing, and that self can kind of, an embodied self can contain all of this. And that I don't have to like it doesn't have to be like understood all the time or figured out or held together.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Does that feel like something you can do in our conversations?
It does. Yeah, I think we should do 1 minute now, maybe, if that's okay.
Great. I'll set a timer.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Know of any parts that you'd like to get to know better or change your relationship with?
Well, I wanted to say something that happened right after our last call.
Mm-hmm.
It was really wild.
Mm-hmm.
So our last call, it was like kind of pulling teeth because it was so pre-verbal the whole time.
Yeah.
I wasn't saying much, but I did feel like I really felt this kind of system of parts that was around distancing from fear.
Mm-hmm.
And that there's this everything is fine part that's closely linked, that I felt so much appreciation after our call for the part that where everything had to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
It made so much sense, like how it had to be that way, because
Mm-hmm.
somehow it wasn't. The fear was so not accessible.
Mm.
And I remembered this memory of when I was like 2. I was on a vacation at the ocean, and it's my earliest memory that I have always sort of had, that I lost one of the water wings, and those things that keeps you afloat in the water.
Yes.
And I just went into this huge, like, I was grief stricken, like so hard, and nobody in my family really understood why I was so sad.
Mm. Yep.
They're like, you can just get a new one or something. But I think, this part showed it to me because it wasn't allowed to feel fear of the ocean. And so it just went straight to this like huge amount of grief, because if it wasn't safe with its water wing, it couldn't express fear. So then it was just, I don't know, a huge loss of, like, I don't know, just was sad instead of just saying, I'm scared of the ocean without my water wings.
Yeah.
It was just so alone. Like it couldn't, yeah, I don't know. But after I got off our call, right before our call, I had put my cat into the room where I took our call, because my cat had been really scared of some construction in my house. And I opened my eyes, took off my headphones, turned around, saw my cat's face. And I was like, oh my God, what I had thought was a panther was the exact face of my scared cat, who, like, and it was so beautiful. Like, her being scared was so beautiful. And it was like, I couldn't even recognize the beauty of fear.
Hmm.
And it was just was so like, it took me to the end of our call and afterwards to realize like that right from the beginning, my system in the form of like showing me this animal was trying to show me like just how beautiful and wonderful like fear can be. It's a force. It's anyway. And the first time that I ever did IFS, the first thing that I saw was an elephant. And the IFS practitioner was like, is that a part of you or is that something? And I was like, I didn't really know. Is it a part of me? But it led me to like my womb and my ovaries and all this grief that was stored there. And it was this elephant that like was like this huge embodiment of that in my system. Like it actually showed me like it was an elephant. So I had a lot of appreciation for feeling fear after that. And it sort of didn't really, it kind of came at the end. And
have you worked with that 2-year-old at the beach?
Well, at the end of our last call, she had said that like just kind of feeling her feet on the sand, in the sand, feeling safe, it was what she needed. And I don't know if I've actually like spent more time there since.
Okay.
So maybe we could start there.
There, or anything else that's up for you, any part that needs your attention?
Yeah, it feels a little polarized, that like area where this young one just wants to feel safe and happy, like with her feet in the sand. And I still feel some part that's somehow doesn't think that that's good enough. Like that it needs to do more and more and more. And I think exploring that.
Yeah. And we could find out. We could try to contact that part and find out.
Let's do that.
Okay. So one of this part's protectors is everything is fine part. Does it give you permission to go to the young one? Do any other parts object to that?
Yeah, I think everything is fine is little hanging in the distance.
Distant enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
The one that's it's just this one that's like you can't stay still. You can't just do that. You can't just be there.
Yeah, just let it know that we're gonna find out. It could be right. Maybe this part needs something else. So ask it for space. Let it know that we can try to go directly to that part and find out.
Wait. Okay.
What's up?
I guess I'm wondering if I should just go straight to the part that doesn't know if it's okay to just be somewhere with fear of doing more. Or am I going to the part that just wants to be safe?
I thought we were gonna go. I thought we were going to go check on that 2-year-old part who said she wants to be safe and just check that out with her and see if she does need anything else. And this one, and it sounds like you had named a part that says, well, no, that's not enough. She can't just stay there. And so I was just going with, okay, well, let's see if we ask that one for space and let it know that we'll go find out.
Okay.
Is it all right with that?
Okay. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they're different parts because this one who wants to just be safe in the sand, like very much doesn't want to stand still there.
Okay. What else do you notice about her? Is this the 2-year-old?
I don't know. I can only see her feet.
Okay. Maybe you can ask her to notice you.
Yeah.
How do you feel towards her?
I feel curious that want to know
Great.
why. Yeah, I want to know about how she feels like moving around here.
Wonderful. Just let her know you'd like to know more about her. She can show you however she wants. And obviously, there's something important about her feet. Just let her know who you are, that you'd like to get to know her. And just ask her to tell you anything she wants to tell you.
She's kind of showing me like that her ears are sort of sore.
Okay.
She's a little afraid of like yelling or something.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I don't know if it's she's afraid of like her own yelling or tantruming or other people yelling.
Could ask her. Getting anything?
Hmm.
Is she responding?
Well, what's happening is that I'm feeling
So welcome.
there's some protection coming in from sleepy
Yes.
part.
Okay. Let's welcome the sleepy part. It's there for a reason.
Uh-huh.
It's important. It's powerful. Can you send it that message that it's welcome? I personally would love to get to know it. Does it want to talk to me?
Well, okay.
Okay,
So,
sleepy part. What's up? How you feeling? What's going on? You're here for a reason. I want to honor that. What came up in you that made you show up?
so I have to kind of talk on behalf of it because
Great.
it's so young.
Great.
Uh, the part who it's protecting is it sleepy part needs to make it happy. Take it out of it doesn't know what to do.
And sleeping helps with that, right? It takes it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds really valuable. Sounds like this part really cares. Will you let it know that from me?
Yeah.
You said it's really young. Has it been doing this for a long time? It's been working in this way?
Yeah.
Yeah, even since you were 2?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it saw this 2-year-old and some of her feelings coming up again, and it said, wait, I know how to make this go away, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It didn't blend with me now, but it just showed me that it was like I think maybe I was blended with this 2-year-old who just kind of couldn't really sit and be. And when it can't be this, and it doesn't know what to do, then sleepy part just comes to the rescue.
Okay. Yeah. It's a protector.
Yeah.
Try showing it appreciation, and also appreciation for not blending with you.
Yeah.
It kind of showed up, made itself known.
And you know what's amazing is that when it shows up and it doesn't blend with me, it's like this very soothing, calming force that I feel can actually help this part that can't be and can't feel its fear and doesn't know what to do.
Yes. Yep. Just let it know that you get how it works and why it works, and that you appreciate it.
It's the first time I've like experienced the sleepy parts like in a way that wasn't overwhelming, that showed me its merits.
That's really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, how's it like that? How's it like being recognized by you?
Good question.
And acknowledged by you.
Huh. Sleepy part has always been like blue sky, and like it's always been a sky that sort of comes in. And I don't know, it just, I think it like sort of being closer, not being so up in the air.
Okay. Yeah. 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 See if you can just invite it to notice you. Show it that appreciation. Thank it for looking out for the 2-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
You could try asking what it needs from you in order to let you get back and learn more about that 2-year-old.
It's something like its role was to fix the 2-year-old, and like I'm just kind of coming in and
Disturbing it.
No, it's like I'm just here to appreciate how the sleepy part was trying to fix the situation.
Right.
But I'm curious to learn more about the part it's trying to fix the situation of. And
Right. Yeah. And what does it need from you to let you go do that and give you space?
well, I think it just wanted some appreciation for what it
All
was
right.
doing.
Yeah. Is anything else it wants? Or how's it feeling about the appreciation that we gave it?
Well, it kind of it went from like being this bright sunny sky to sort of being more comfortable like in the dark outer reaches of space.
Mm-hmm. So it's comfortable?
Yeah, it doesn't have to like blow sunshine.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay that there's like some space there for this part.
Yeah. And for you to get to know it.
Right.
Right. Okay. Thanks, sleepy part.
Yeah. Thanks, sleepy part.
You ready to get back to that 2-year-old?
Yeah.
Okay. You were asking her, something came up about her being afraid of the yelling, and you were wondering, is that her own yelling or someone else's yelling?
Hmm.
She said her ears were sore.
Yeah.
Just tell her you really want to understand that.
Yeah. I think she's afraid she's going to cause yelling.
Okay. Yeah. Some other people's yelling.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe you just let her know that you see how that's been hard for her.
Yeah.
And that we are definitely not going to yell at her. And we can look out for any parts that might want to.
She's just like got a stick and is just like poking it into the sand.
Yeah? How's she feeling?
She's feeling kind of like grumpy, like antsy, like she wants something, but she's she feels like anything she does will lead to things she's afraid of or something. So she just sort of
How do you feel towards her? I'm so curious.
yeah.
When you don't respond to that, is it because you don't, there's a part of you that doesn't like the answer? Or because you don't know?
Um yeah, it's that the relationship between like myself and my parts, I mean, and in this case it happens often and it's happening here too. There's like a distance.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how everybody is. That's what IFS is for. That's what we're doing.
Yeah. So when
So
you
it's
ask how I feel towards it,
mm-hmm.
it's like the connection. I don't know what that is. We're not connected yet.
That's fine. That's fine. She doesn't have to do anything.
Uh-huh.
And we're trying to learn about that connection, and we're trying to grow that connection if she's interested.
Yeah.
But I was just curious about your feelings towards her, not about assessing the connection between the two of you.
Okay.
Like you could say she feels really distant and I'm feeling curious and compassionate towards her. Or you could say she feels really distant and I feel mad at her, or I feel like I don't want to get to know her, or some other
Uh-huh.
feeling about her or towards her. So I'm just
Yeah,
checking
I mean, I don't
on
know if
your
this
feelings.
uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this isn't really a feeling. But I feel as though
Okay.
she's kind of stuck in this feeling of like with the stick and
Yes.
feeling
So
kind of crabby.
You see that she's feeling stuck.
Yeah. But
okay.
I also feel a little confused because I'm trying to the place where I started this part was that she was like kind of wanting to just be safe at the beach but not being able to be still in safety. She was like feeling like she had to do something else.
Right.
And now that doing something else as opposed to just enjoying the beach when water on her feet is like being grumpy with a stick in the sand.
Right. Is there a part of you that really wants to figure this out and make some logical sense of, wait, I thought she was like this, but now she's being like this, and I don't get it, and I want to get the answer to which is it?
It is a part of me that wants to make sure I can keep track of what is going on.
Okay. So can I just speak to that for a minute?
Sure.
So I'm taking detailed notes.
Okay.
And I really feel like that's one of the great things about working with a buddy in this, is that I am really trying to track what's going on with her. And my goal is to get yourself connected with her and to get you unblended from other parts so that yourself is present for her. When I ask how do you feel towards, I'm checking for your self energy. And so that part of you that wants to keep track of the details, I think I would invite it to relax.
Okay.
It is important. The details are very important. And I want to help out with that. I'm tracking those details.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't have to do that. And you could just let it know that. And then what's left is you do see how this little girl is feeling.
Yeah.
I'd like to know how you're feeling towards her.
Okay.
Because if you're blended and you're not in self energy, then I would want to do more on blending. That's why that question is so important. Does the keep tracking part, how does it feel about hearing me say that? Is it okay with relaxing some?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's all like, for me, I don't know if it's a part or self, but the tracking is like accessing this feeling of this part. And otherwise, if I can't like feel the feeling of the part,
right,
then I get lost. Like, I don't know what's happening.
I get it. And I agree with you. That is half of the equation, is figuring out how the parts feel. But we need to know which part of you is wanting to figure out how the parts feel.
Okay.
And maybe it is self, and I just don't know that. But that's why I'm asking that, is because I'm wondering, is it a figuring out part that's trying to figure out how she feels, or is there self?
Okay.
So does your desire to figure out how she feels come from a place of compassion and connection and genuine curiosity, or does it come from something else?
Well, there's probably a mix.
Okay, good.
I mean, what you said definitely helps, the keeping track of things, know that it's okay not to.
Yeah. So you see the little girl with the stick.
Yeah.
How do you feel towards her?
I do feel compassion for
Okay.
the place she's stuck.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel compassion for her? The 2-year-old being inside of you who is stuck.
I might be a little afraid of the grumpiness.
Okay, great. Great noticing. Great. Good.
It's funny because that's where we started.
Okay.
Fear.
Yeah. Afraid of the grumpiness. Okay. Can we acknowledge that part? Let it know that we see it, that it matters?
Yeah.
Yeah. What does it want you to know? Can it tell us more about its concern or its fear?
It's afraid that the grumpiness is just gonna sap. It's gonna like be like a wet rag over the whole thing.
Over what whole thing?
The whole that it'll get stuck there. That it's stuck there.
That the little girl will be stuck there in her grumpiness?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it has a concern about her feelings. It doesn't want her to be stuck.
Yeah, it is afraid she doesn't know how to get unstuck.
Yeah. Can you thank it for that? Sounds like it's concerned about her.
Mm-hmm.
And you might be right. The she doesn't know how to get unstuck. She might have felt stuck all this time. And she might not know. So you can thank that fear, that afraid part,
Mm-hmm.
for its concern. And just let it know that if it gives you space, if it lets the curious, compassionate self get close to her and understand her, that the self can work the self magic, can learn what she needs to get unstuck.
Okay.
How does it feel about that?
I think it heard that.
Yeah?
It lightened up a little bit.
Okay. Thanks. You ready to get back to that little girl?
Yeah.
Okay. You see her with the stick?
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel towards her?
I guess I feel a little like I'm feeling a little playfulness come out. Like, I wonder if that's like I might be able to connect with her if I'm a little playful with her.
Okay. How do you feel towards her? There's no wrong answer.
This is it's just so
Frustrating?
no, it's just so funny, like how this part is like it's sort of like it just seems to be like I must be blended because it's so fractal. Like I can't just feel towards the part, just like the part can't feel its own fear or just be with its.
There's something blocking you from feeling a certain way towards the part.
Okay, now I'm getting it.
Yeah.
It's showing me that it's like this kind of like OCD thing in the
Mm-hmm.
head.
Mm-hmm. Welcome, OCD thing.
Yeah, that stick thing was like a right OCD thing in its head. And so,
Are you talking about the little girl with the stick?
yes. And so
Oh,
I couldn't feel it because it was
couldn't
like,
feel
yeah,
what?
couldn't feel towards the part because the part was like kind of captive. My head was, it was like captive of my whole head in this loop.
So when the little girl is doing something that's captivating her, that makes parts in you come up that get captivated in a loop.
No, I think I was sort of blended in this like loop that it was in.
Okay.
And because it was like this kind of OCD loop thing, like that prevents me from feeling things somehow,
Yeah.
I couldn't unblend and feel it.
Okay. What about now? Do you feel unblended from it?
A little bit.
Okay.
Now I feel like, hi, okay, I'm here and I'm not blended in that loop.
Okay. How do you feel towards the little girl?
Well, I feel her sort of she's now like kind of leaping around, not just stuck in that one place. Yeah, she's sort of.
I'm so curious though about how you feel towards her. And when you don't respond, I'm just so curious. Is it because an answer comes to your mind and then you don't, and then a part stops you from saying it, or is it because no answer comes to your mind?
Well, it's that the things that come to my mind aren't feelings toward it.
Okay,
They're just like things about it.
Great. I'm glad to know that.
It's definitely trying to get my attention, though, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think all the parts need your attention. We could play a feeling towards game with something else if it might help us practice. And just see if that feeling towards if there's something else that's going on when you're trying to access that.
Okay.
I just had an idea, like, is your cat nearby?
No.
Well, it doesn't matter. How do you feel towards your cat?
I feel close and connected and nurturing of it.
Yeah, you feel nurturing, so compassionate.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Cool. Yeah, I was just checking. So that tells me that you have the self energy, and for the cat, it's pretty easy for you to unblend from any other parts and feel that compassion for the cat.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something that is making it difficult to feel compassion for this little girl. And that's totally normal. And it's very important. It's very important for us to find out.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have to do it in this call. We can come back to it. How would it feel to your parts if I were to send a message from myself to that little girl? I can run it by them first.
Yeah, I guess I just want to make sure. Like, just tell me who you're talking to exactly, and then I can open up for that.
Okay, so we'll tell her to put her earmuffs on, and then you can run this part. You can run my message past whatever parts are up for you and see how they feel about sending it along to her.
Okay.
I want her to know that I'm very curious about her. I want her to know that I won't forget about her unless I get hit by a bus. And I want her to know that I think it's okay for her to feel grumpy, and that her feelings are important, and that I'd like to understand them. That's all.
Okay.
What parts came up for you in hearing that? Are they okay with sending that message along, or are there concerns about that?
Well, I definitely heard everything you said.
Mm-hmm.
It's these to this part, those words are very foreign.
To which part?
The girl.
Oh, I thought she was away with the earmuffs on. I believe they are foreign to her. I think that's what makes her an exile.
Mm-hmm.
And I have parts of me that are sad about that. Sad and sorry that they're foreign to her. And I also want her to know that I would like to help out with that if I can. What comes up for you when you hear me say all that? Do protective parts come up and say that we shouldn't send that message to her?
Uh, there's I'm feeling there's that of the futility part, like that
Yes.
used to call out for what it wanted or what it needed, and
Mm-hmm.
it didn't
Yeah.
work.
Right. So it has a concern that if we learn more about what this little girl wants or needs, it's just going to lead to more pain because it won't work. We won't be able to help her.
More that um not that we won't be able to help her, but that nobody really is concerned. Like
Right. Right.
this part doesn't, like, I heard what you said and
Uh-huh.
myself could hear that you want these things, but this futility part
Believes that there's
thinks,
no one inside that is concerned.
yeah, it just thinks,
Yeah.
nah, no one
Yeah.
really does
Yeah.
care.
Right. 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 That sounds really hard.
Yeah.
And I bet it has a lot of good reasons why it feels that way.
Yeah.
And there is a self in there.
Uh,
You do have a self.
mm-hmm.
You do have a part that cares. And is concerned or has a compassionate kind of concern for all parts.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe these ones don't know it, haven't seen it around much. That's normal.
Yeah, the ears are very sore.
There are layers. I've been
No,
keeping track of the
I said
details.
that the ears of
Oh, I'm
these
sorry.
parts are very sore.
Yeah. Sore from someone else yelling? Or are they just sick of me talking?
No, they just
Okay.
they only know either yelling or nothing. They don't know in between, you know.
Sounds awful.
Yeah.
So the little girl did get my message that I'm not going to forget about her and that her feelings matter to me.
Well, I think now that I recognize the futility part that was in the way, and I heard you, I'm trying to deliver the message.
Is there another part in the way? You just ask, who doesn't want the little girl to hear this? Who has a fear about that or a concern about that? All parts are welcome. And if there's a part that doesn't want to send her that message, I respect that. I'm not mad at that part or disappointed or anything. Just curious.
Hmm.
Did you find it? How you doing?
Yeah,
How's this conversation felt for you?
it feels like confusing.
I want to apologize if I've added to the confusion. And I'd like to look for other ways that we can avoid that in the future. Maybe you and I can listen back and think about that.
Mm.
And I really admire you hanging in there. Even when it's confusing or scary. And I admire and appreciate how much you've trusted me to go with you there.
Thank you.
Yeah. Should we stop here and we'll listen back, and I'd love to get you on the calendar as soon as possible. And if not, that's okay too.
Mm.
And we could talk about ways to do it differently, what I can do differently.
Yeah, I felt so good about my process, and now I'm like questioning so much because the parts like they just seem to mutate like the second I interact or the second I see them, then they mutate, and I don't know then, for me to hang on to the trailhead of what I originally intended to learn more about, like, then becomes difficult, and without triggering like all my sort of managerial, like, hold it together, and I lose self energy. And yeah, it's just,
hold it together, keep track of the details.
Yeah.
Those kind of parts. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And everything's just so, it becomes like a ball of wax.
Yeah.
I mean, I do feel the trailheads to like various things, but
yes,
you
definitely feel those trailheads, and you definitely observe a lot about parts. You see the little girl, you see this about her, you see that about her, you understand some of the ways that she's feeling.
But why don't I mean, I'm just being honest when I say like that.
I know, that's awesome.
They're there.
Yeah.
And I can see this or that about them, but
that's great that you're being honest. That's why I'm optimistic about continuing to work with you. It's like, great. You're being honest about what's going on, then we can do anything.
Yeah. That question though. There's definitely some part of my system that that distances me from these exiles.
Yes.
Distances self from exiles, or
which is what they all do. That's what an exile is. It's a part that's been distanced by protectors. Right. And so we just got to figure out who those protectors are.
Yeah. Some of them are really slinky and self-like, and I am blended with them.
Yes.
Okay.
And here you are noticing all that. So yeah, I'm very optimistic.
Okay. I have my whole map of my system, which has been really helpful for me to like kind of see what's overlapping and what's the same thing and what's different things and all that. But at the same time, I wonder if it's like overly solidifying these.
Yep. That's kind of what I was feeling.
Of positioning of.
Yep. I think there's a lot of seeing. There's a lot of seeing, perhaps a lot of figuring out, a lot of connecting dots.
Yeah.
And that is valuable. But it's not the entirety of what self can do for parts. The map is valuable. We need that.
Uh-huh.
But parts need self energy. That's what they needed, self's presence, for them to get unstuck or get whatever else they want. So we can thank the map maker.
Yeah. Okay. I'll keep.
But yeah, my goal is to help yourself connect with your parts. My goal isn't merely to learn the map of your system.
Right.
Mm-hmm. As fascinating as it is.
I mean, maybe I'm needing to just do more, like, to like practice connecting with self more somehow. But how can I if I have all these hidden managers who I'm blended with all the time?
By doing just that, you're noticing them, and you're going to notice them more and more, and you're going to check in. How do I feel towards the part? If it's not curious and compassionate, it's not self. And then we just ask, okay, well, who is here?
Who is here?
Who's doing this if it's not self? Who's trying to figure out about this little girl? Who's afraid to send this message from James' self? And we'll just keep looking for those slinky hidden managers. We all have them.
Awesome. That sounds like a plan.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you.
Very cool. I hope to work with you again soon.
Yeah.
I'll send you the call. And yeah, thank you again for your patience.
Thank you.
And trust.
For yours.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
I had that episode published, my first one, and I reheard it again. And it was very interesting to hear after, I don't know, a few months' time. Because what you recognized and kind of waited until the end to talk about, because you were just making sure what you thought was really happening, I could detect right from the start at this point. And it was, I don't know, I guess a little sad. Because I've also, just been trying to be more aware of my managers. In the past, I think I've more worked directly more with firefighters or exiles, and the managers have been a little more like just blended with them. And I wasn't really like in relationship with them so much. And it's just now when I think of unblending from my managers, it's like this sense of like total free fall. Like I've jumped out of a plane. And in a way, it's really awesome. Like that there is so much that we can just rest in. Like there's just kind of other people and other things and nature and whatever, all the things that we're connected to that like kind of hold us up. Besides our managers. And obviously self is like the most important. But I think like I've had so much managerial stuff that I've been blended with that it sort of feels like I'm just like falling into the unknown.
Yeah. 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 So is it when you think about unblending for managers that there's a fear of falling into the unknown, or is it when you are unblended from the managers that it feels like?
Yeah, I think it's when I'm in awareness of managers and connected to self. But maybe still a little blended with them. What comes up from the manager is this feeling.
Right. It's the manager's fear.
Yeah.
Or the manager's experience of, I'm out of control now, which it is. That if it's unblended, then the manager has lost control of the system.
Exactly.
And it's worried about what happens next. It feels scary.
Right. And so in that way, it's like, it kind of makes managers and firefighters more similar to me.
Yes.
Or like,
yep.
Yeah. I don't know.
I get it.
Maybe it's just my manager or something, but that it's always managing because it's running from fear of the unknown.
Right. Yeah. So when I hear you say that, I'm thinking, okay, that you are able to do the noticing and unblending, but perhaps that manager is not recognizing and trusting in self. So that is kind of where I'm thinking would be something to work that you could work on.
And that's
okay,
where,
now that I've gotten space from this part, I need to show up for that part so that it doesn't feel itself kind of abandoned and falling.
Yeah. That sounds great, because that's like where I had, after our last appointment, that's exactly where I said I wanted to start today. And so it's cool that even though that was many weeks ago, that I'm still there.
Yeah. Okay. Would you like to have a minute of meditation and just check, see what other parts might want to raise their hands or?
That sounds great.
Okay. I'll set a timer for a minute. Starting now. Okay. So do you have a part that you'd like to get to know better or change your relationship with?
Yeah, well, I would like to have a relationship with my predominant manager.
Okay. And can you give me a quick summary on what do we know about this manager or how it shows up in your body or in your, how you notice it?
I notice it like sort of an adrenaline feeling in my heart.
Mm-hmm. And are you aware of it like right now? Is it kind of present for you right now?
Yeah.
Okay. So as you notice it,
Definitely in my jaw too.
heart and jaw. All right. So as you're noticing it in your heart and jaw, in this moment, how are you feeling towards it?
Well, I feel it's like exhaustion. And I'm probably a little blended with it too, because that question always just like makes me want to answer things like observations and ways of fixing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As opposed to, all those self-like feelings towards.
Right. Great. So what I'm hearing is that you might be blended with a part that is kind of a observer and fixer part.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what comes up for you when I ask that question is more observations and a feeling like you want to fix it. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I maybe right now, I mean, I know I have fixer stuff, but it's more like the exhaustion is just kind of dreadful. And I don't know if I'm jumping into wanting to fix it, but I'm feeling I guess like I want to run away, but I'm not running away.
Okay. Okay. Good noticing.
But it's not quite there towards like, oh, I'm compassionate and caring of it.
That's fine. That's totally fine. So the exhaustion is dreadful. This manager is exhausted. Right?
Yeah.
And it's feeling dreadful. The part is, right?
I think so.
Okay. We let it know that if it gives you space and unblends a little bit, then we can learn more about it. We can learn about its exhaustion. We can find out if it's other parts that it want to fix or other parts that feel dreadful, or if it's this part. If it will just step back a little bit to let you see it better. How does it respond to that?
It kind of wants me to step up as opposed to it to step back.
And what would that mean when it says it wants you to step up? Like, what does it envision What does that mean?
That I don't run away or keep a distance, that I am there.
Okay.
That I stay.
Yeah. Would it be fair to say, you can ask the part, that you have running away parts? I do. So I know that there's lots of things that come up for me, and my running away parts say, don't deal with it. Sounds like this part has experienced that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Well, and I think the kind of standing there and just like observing is the distance. There's something in between observing it in its pain and its pain that's not there.
There's something between
I think that's the manager.
Okay. I'm lost. Sorry. There's something between observing its pain and its pain that's not there.
Right. Like if I'm just standing there, back and observing it, but not being there for it.
Yeah.
Or with it.
Yeah. It wants more than that, right? It wants someone to be there with it.
Like you had said, if we unblend from it and have distance, then we can learn more about it.
Right.
But there is a thing in that distance. And that thing is this block, which is just like, it's that self that's missing, that it's just, there's just observing and like kind of being frozen by its feelings.
Okay. Yeah. So does it feel like there's a part that is that block, or there's a part that feels frozen in you?
What's the difference?
Oh, I was just asking two questions in one. You can answer either of them.
You say them again.
Does it feel like what is blocking is a part? And does it feel like there's a part of you that is frozen?
I'm just trying to get a little space from the manager. This all got too confusing. Probably because of the blending.
Yep. We want all the parts to know that it will be more confusing if they're blended with you. And that if they step back, give space, unblend, you can see them more clearly. We can get some clarity.
The manager is showing me a lot of kind of jaw energy. It's very much feels like it needs to be heard, I guess.
Yeah, I want that too. I want it to be heard. Does it know how to be heard? One way is blending with you, right? And giving you all that energy in the jaw. Does it have any other ideas? Or would it like to hear mine?
Sure.
Okay. I believe IFS is all about listening to parts, hearing parts clearly. And it's the self that does that listening. Self has a capacity to listen to and to love all the parts. But if parts are blended, including this manager, then sometimes it's kind of overwhelming. I'm imagining like if you walk into a party and your friend like jumps on your back, and it's like, whoa, who is that? Who is that? Oh, it's your best friend. But until they get off your back, you don't really know that.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I'm asking for space, when I'm suggesting that, it's, hey friend, can you step around in front of me so I can give you a proper hello, so I can recognize you. Then I can hear from you better. What's to think about that idea? Or how does that idea feel?
It was a really interesting example for it because besides this manager, I have so much exile-y kind of energy around like contact and my parts like want contact so bad, but they don't know like how to have gentle self like contact, you know?
Right.
And
in real life, that's how it always was. It was either like very violent play or very distant.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, we're trying to find a little middle ground there.
Yeah.
So how does it feel? How does that manager part feel about trying that? About trying to kind of step in front of you? Not so that we can be real far from it, not so we're just observing it and not caring, but because we care about it. We want to get a good look at it and have a conversation with it.
Sounds good.
Okay. So ask it to do that.
Okay.
Does it feel like it's done that?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so.
Okay. So now you're
I
noticing this
have a
part.
part that's really afraid that, like, if it's not like totally blended, it will be lost track of. Like, I won't be able to find it.
Yeah, I know. A lot of parts are like that. That's kind of how they're used to doing things. They kind of take over, and that's how they get what they need. And yeah, we're asking them to try something different. Just let it know. I'm not going to let it get lost. I can commit to, let's just get to know this manager in this conversation. We can dedicate the whole hour to it. And if any other parts come up, we'll say, hold on, we're trying to get to know the manager. We can do that. How's the manager feel about that?
It's wondering, like, if it's the same manager that we left off at last time and it wants to, like, remember what happened last time.
Okay. And why is that important for it? Or what's it worried about happening if we don't do that?
It's worried that we won't be able to recognize it.
Okay. It's worried if we don't have the threads from last conversation, we won't recognize it?
Yeah.
It can just show us itself right now. It doesn't. Like, there is a part that's up for you. And if it wants us to get to know it, it can just show up. We don't have to have any of, our notes from last time. And if it's not the same part from last time, okay, well then we'll get to know whatever part's up now and we can make time to revisit another one another time. How does it feel about that? These concerns they do matter to me. So if I'm not understanding the concern and it wants to say more about that, I'm open to hearing more.
I think
Will you just tell me what's coming up for you? When you go quiet, I just have no idea.
Yeah.
If I've pissed a part off, if you're falling asleep, if you're on the other line.
No, there's like
and
a
it's
total
okay.
spaz in there.
Yeah. There's a spaz in there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just, I don't know, so I'm very confused, like, this is all fucked up, kind of.
Yeah. To feel like the whole process that we're in is all fucked up. Or does it feel like your system is all fucked up?
The process.
Okay.
That it doesn't, that like the self versus this manager versus all the exile shit that's going around it is just all one big ball of confusion.
Yeah.
And
yeah. I really appreciate hearing from that part. I can see how that would be really frustrating or scary, confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I wanted to know that I care and that I do see that kind of as my role is to help people get from a place of kind of confused and jumbled to more clear. So I believe through IFS, this can help. And also I could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, this manager doesn't know that that's possible.
Mm-hmm.
It thinks it all has to make sense, and it doesn't know about like just feelings and
Right.
Compassion and caring and all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's not really the manager's tools, right? The manager is a sense maker, right?
Right.
Yeah. And it also it hasn't felt a lot of compassion coming from self. That's not something it's very familiar with, right?
Right.
Right. I get that. Yeah. That's what I want to change. I don't want to change it. It doesn't have to learn to be a compassionate part. It doesn't have to learn anything. But there is a compassionate one in you. And that compassion can become available for any part. The best way I know how is to notice them, ask them for a little space. But I understand it can be scary, or it's a new thing, or it feels really confusing. It sounded like there's some sadness coming up when you were speaking for that manager about how it just didn't know compassion.
Well, my relationship, my primary relationship is very business-like.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it just can't seem to land anywhere else. And
Right.
it never works out.
Yeah. Yeah. So the compassion, trying to have compassion in this relationship feels like it just never works out. Either one of you is being compassionate, the other one isn't, or the compassion is missing, or missing the mark, or something like that.
Yeah.
And so you just stick to the business like stuff.
Yeah, and even the efforts to like be closer, like still just managerial.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I want to like kind of talking about problems or something, and then not really feeling like the feelings are there. It's more like how do we solve problems?
Right. Yeah. And so that's kind of your manager part that does that problem solving. And
well, it's not just me, it's the other person too.
Oh yeah, they got their parts too, right? So your manager part and their manager part can sit down and have a conversation. Right?
I guess so. Yeah.
Sounds like this manager part really cares about that relationship. It's looking for things that work between the two of you. And it says, hey, I can keep us together. This is where we can meet. Right? Something like that.
Well, my frustrated parts kind of come up in the face of it a lot.
Yeah. What do they say? What are they frustrated about? All the stuff.
What are all these questions?
Yeah.
You're not getting it.
Yeah.
You don't.
Right.
We're not connected.
Right. Yeah, they could be right. They're noticing all the other stuff that's not there, or the compassion that's not there, or how the managers get carried away with the questions. And they don't like that. That's not the kind of connection that they want for you in your system, in your relationship. I get that. Yeah. Makes sense for them to be frustrated. And I have that same kind of concern. If you're in a relationship, if your primary relationship just feels business-like, that doesn't sound ideal. Sounds like some things might be missing from what you need. Yeah. And do the frustrated parts see that if we can get to know the manager part, we might be able to help it out, might get it to relax a little and make space for some other solutions and some other parts or some self that might be able to help find more of that connection? That was a question for the frustrated parts.
You were asking if the frustrated part could make space to get to know the manager?
Yeah. And the way I was phrasing it was, do they see how if we can get to know the manager, then we might be able to help out with the same thing that they're concerned about? It sounds to me like the manager is doing all of this work, trying to maintain this relationship and a lot of other things in your life. And a lot of those things aren't working in a way that works for the rest of your system or don't feel self-led. So I'm just wondering if the frustrated parts see that we might be able to help if we can get to know that manager.
I don't think they know. It knows because it doesn't really understand that like the manager is any different from
I appreciate that.
love or
Yeah. And we don't want to get rid of any parts. So I'm not saying we should never solve problems or anything like that. I was just basically asking if the frustrated parts would give space so that we can get to know the manager. Because if we go in there with these frustrated parts right here, and they're saying, hey, why you ask too many questions? You're doing it wrong. Well, the manager's not going to respond very well to that, I imagine. It's probably just going to attack back. So can you thank the frustrated parts for looking out and ask them for space?
The frustrated part's really loud.
Okay.
But I don't know much about it. Like, I don't know.
They're tired of being in a relationship that feels like a business, like all you do is connect in a business like fashion. Is that right? They're
Yeah.
tired of they're tired of your business part and your partner's business part consuming all the energy, and that you're not finding other creative solutions or connecting solutions or ways to be together.
Yeah, the frustrated part is like really angry about that kind of. What is it angry about?
Yeah, it's anger is welcome. I want to know.
It's like, yeah, it's kicking, and it's like, it looks like a grown up kicking in a crib.
Mm. Yeah.
And it's like screaming, like, why aren't you here? But get away from me.
Why aren't you here? Why isn't the love here? Something like that.
Right. And like, get away from me in the way that you're trying to do it.
Get away from me, business person, fixer person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. It's really angry about that.
Yeah, and it feels like there's a lot of, it could just kick and scream in that crib forever.
Yeah. Until the love shows up. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm with it. I believe it. Makes sense to me. I think you and your parts deserve love, and it is something worth fighting for. And I think these parts might be right. That there's too much business handling going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yep.
Does that make sense to you?
Well, yeah. I mean,
okay. Can you show the frustrated parts that it makes sense to you why they're frustrated and how hard that is for them?
I think so.
Let them know that their feelings matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do they respond to that? And how do they feel when we acknowledge them?
It's not lying down in the crib anymore.
Okay.
Kind of stood up, shaking it off a little bit.
Yeah. 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 You can even show them appreciation because they want love. They want you to be in a loving relationship, and they want love in your system. And it's good that we have parts fighting for that.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah. And I want them to know that they're always welcome here. That if they're feeling frustrated, angry, I'm happy to hear about what's going on for them. How old do they think that you are? Frustrated parts, how old do they think you are?
I don't know.
That's fine.
I mean, the number 30 came to mind. That's like a couple of years after I got married, but I don't know.
Did the relationship start getting kind of businessy around that time? Did it feel
Yeah.
like some of the love was missing at that time? And parts and busy manager parts started working harder to connect in their
Yeah.
way? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Update them with your real age. It makes sense why they think you're 30. You could also ask them what they need from you. We already know that they want the business-like manager to relax or to find other solutions. Is there anything else that they want from you? The frustrated parts?
Yeah, they're showing me like the the feeling of the manager falling. That sort of free fall.
Yeah, is that a concern they have?
No, they like that.
Okay.
It's just one frustrated part that does the one part does the get away from me like that. Why aren't you here? Like I need you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so,
it really likes this free fall of the manager.
Yeah, it wants the manager to let go and just kind of fall away. Stop trying to control and fix everything, right?
Yeah.
Something else? You said that
There's
free
just
fall.
sort of this disbelief that there's love behind that manager.
Yeah. How do you feel towards the frustrated part?
I feel that it's got a real huge insight.
Yeah. When you saw how hard it was for this frustrated part to be in the crib, how did you feel towards it? Or when you were showing it appreciation?
Yeah, I think it's cool.
I
totally appreciate, like, that's a good thing to be angry about.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
I mean, right. I appreciate it. Although I do know that if it is in charge.
Right. Then that's a different set of problems, right?
Yeah.
Of course. Great. Okay.
It
was concerned that
what it was trying to do back then in the crib wasn't working.
Right.
But it was all it knew how to do.
Right. That's right. That's how protectors are.
Yeah.
So it's worried that there won't be any love behind that manager. And you were able to find some degree of love for this frustrated part, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just let it know that you have unlimited of that.
Yeah.
And that you can also support the manager with love, with appreciation. That there isn't any part in you that you can't do that for. And that's going to be our goal. Our goal is not going to be to just push the manager off a ledge, even if that does in some ways feel good. We're going to go try to support it in a similar way that we support the frustrated parts. What do they think about that?
Who's they?
Frustrated
you mean
part.
The frustrated part?
Yeah.
How does it? Yeah.
How does it feel about that idea that we could support the manager with the same self energy? and appreciation and care.
Yeah, it feels like there's like a skinny skeleton of that resource, but
Yeah.
But I guess it feels good to it.
Okay.
That maybe there is something else besides being managed or managing others.
Right. There's something else. That part felt like it'd been stuck in a crib since you were 30 years old. And then something else kind of gave it the power to step out of that, or at least envision itself out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's you. It's yourself. You have these magical qualities that can heal parts. And I totally get that this part says, no, this is just a skeleton. This is not much of that there. And maybe they felt like that. You can just apologize for not being there for them more or sooner. But this is the process. The only one I know.
Yeah. Management and love were like completely indistinguishable.
Yep. Sounds like they still are in your relationship.
At this age. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And even though they're not indistinguishable at this age, there still hasn't changed. So that's why the frustrated part comes out a lot.
I get it. They're saying, hey, this isn't love, this is management.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Does it make sense to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And like the frustrated part said, it being frustrated and kicking in the crib wasn't really achieving what it wanted. And when it did take control, that also didn't really get the love that it was after.
Yeah.
So everything about this part makes sense. And like all protectors, it's limited in the way that it can lead. Doesn't have all the tools. But it's not alone. I see it, you see it. It matters, we appreciate it. And if we are ever going to help that manager relax, again, I think it would probably be best if the frustrated parts kind of stepped out of the room.
Okay.
So how do they feel about that?
Yeah, they get it.
Great. Okay. So we've been talking for a little over an hour. You got to know a part, and we have our eyes on this manager part. What feels right for you? Would you like to spend 10, 15 minutes learning more about this manager now? Or should we bookmark that?
How, how does your schedule look for that?
I would love to get to know it. I have time. I'm in a good place, so my only concern is if this part needs an hour long conversation, and we're just getting started, that I might not have the energy for that.
Right. I mean, maybe we can just have like sort of a closing conversation with the manager, just to put a pin in it or something.
Great. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
You could tell the manager.
Frustrated.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
You could tell the manager that you met the frustrated parts.
Okay.
And say, look, I know you have these other parts that have been frustrated at you. I met them. I asked them to step aside, and they did. And I did that for you. I did that for everybody, but I did that so that I could so I could meet you, manager, also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the frustrated part is frustrated about, like, I'm not sure if I have the connection between the frustrated part who's mad at other people managing it and my own manager part that manages myself and others and whatever, the world.
Yeah. So the question is it other people's managers, or is it my own manager that this frustrated part is most bothered by?
Well, I mean, the frustrated part is the baby who got put into metal shoes because its feet were ugly.
Yep. And that was a managerial solution, right? That was a fix-it solution that didn't bring enough love.
And then my own manager didn't know that putting me in medieval devices wasn't love.
Right.
So it managed everything. Manages others because it thinks that's showing love. And it manages myself because it doesn't know that there's anything else to do. It thinks it just has to do stuff. So I don't think there's a understanding internally, and this is really important though, that the frustrated part has a relationship with my own manager.
Oh yeah.
I still don't even feel it or get it necessarily.
Okay. Well, the frustrated part was able to show you that just now, right? In what you were just saying.
I just can't get when this part that is kicking and screaming in a crib.
It's bothered by other people's managers.
Yeah, it's not really connected to like my own mirror of that.
Right. Yeah. And I get that. And all we can work with are the parts in you and me here right now, unless you want to bring in your partner to this conversation or whoever put you in the crib or whatever. So I appreciate that distinction that there are other people's managers and there are your own managers.
Right. And
yeah,
I don't think this frustrated part is seeing the connection in my own manager.
Well, another thing is that
it doesn't. Yeah.
It doesn't have to.
Okay.
I mean, it sounds pretty clear cut to me. The relationship sounds pretty clear to me. And the other thing is we haven't really gotten to know this manager. So maybe there's not a big connection. Maybe we'll learn a whole lot from that manager about that relationship. Either way, you started this conversation talking about this manager and what's not working when this part is blended with you. So that's what I was targeting. And this part was coming up and saying it's frustrated. When you try to contact the manager, the frustrated part comes up. So that to me is more kind of evidence that, okay, this is frustration about a manager in you.
Okay.
I'm also guessing that when you're in your business-like relationship, when you're connecting that way, your business manager parts are up, your partner's business manager parts are up, and that it's not making room for the other compassion, creativity, connection that if you were both being self-led, you would find.
Yes.
So I'm saying this to that frustrated part. This is a way in which by working with your own manager and getting self-energy in there, that's a big step towards getting that connection with this other person in the room. Because honestly, even if just one person is in self-energy, there's going to be connection. The self has the creativity, it's got the courage, the compassion. It can make things happen.
Yeah, and it seems like, the skeletal self that is being perceived by my frustrated part. That the connection between the frustrated part and the manager part will become more clear as self's relationship with the frustrated part and self relationship with the manager part grow.
Yeah, I think so.
Right now it's just such a like skinny skeleton that I can't like feel all the connections.
Okay. Hey, you might just have not made those connections.
Yeah.
Self has been kind of overshadowed.
Yeah, because I maybe made the connections intellectually.
Right.
But
of course. And that's the skeletal kind of relationship. Is when it's just the intellectual stuff there, right? Right.
Yeah.
So we're going to show up with warmth and curiosity and compassion for our parts. You've done that today with the frustrated part to a degree. You can keep doing it. You can keep building on that.
Yeah.
Frustrated part gave you space. Yes.
I love the polarity this part is like holding together, and it
needs to.
It's so brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
fuck yes. Your system is brilliant.
Yeah.
All your parts are brilliant. It's incredible. It's incredible that we can do what we can do with so many parts operating in this crazy symphony, and it works.
Yeah.
And self energy is just the one who acknowledges all of that and appreciates all of that, and lets them know that they're not alone.
Cool. Okay.
Very cool. Yeah. You can show that part that you're not a skeleton. You can show it love and warmth.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thank it.
The frustrated part was what got me in a fight this morning.
Yeah. Yeah, it felt like it needed to take over. Were things getting too businesslike this morning?
Yeah, it was, well, it was sort of like an attempt at connection that didn't work well.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah, but that's not.
Yep. Yeah, you got to earn these parts' trust from self. Self is the supreme connector.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Thanks for whatever meandering road we went down together.
I think it was great. I think you're doing a great job.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for your courage and patience. And thank you.
Okay. Have a great Saturday night.
Okay. You too.
Okay. Bye.
All right. Bye. Do you want to help bring more self-energy to the world? If you'd like to participate in calls or help out with this project in any way, I'd love to hear your ideas. Join the Discord server or contact me at james@liveifs.com. A huge thanks to our audio engineer, Yvonne, for your care and diligence in editing the calls. To every caller for your courage in sharing some of your parts. And to anyone out there getting to know their internal system, keep going. Who knows, that might be the most selfless, helpful thing you can do for others, and you're the only one who can do it. If you'd like to see us reach the largest audience, we must please the almighty suggestion algorithms at iTunes and YouTube. And they don't care about the power of IFS. They're looking for likes and shares and comments, and the sooner the better. Follow the links in the show notes right here in your podcast player to make your wishes known. And now, a minute of meditation. Or if you prefer, pull over. You can do it in 60 seconds. Just click one of those links. They're right there, and give us a like or a 5-star rating. It would really help. If you think this project is helping people, you're helping people by sharing it. Thank you.